On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the East Shore, I welcome you to the 102nd Connecticut House District Candidates Debate. My name is Carol Reimers, and I live in Killingworth, and I will be your moderator today. The League of Women Voters is a national, state, and local nonpartisan political organization, and we welcome everyone to join us. We are pleased to sponsor debates like this one because we want to empower voters and defend democracy. The candidates for the 102nd House District seat are Robin Comey, Democrat, and Ray Ingraham, Republican. Each candidate will have a 1-minute opening statement on their qualifications, followed by questions. Each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond to each question. There will be a series of questions that can be followed by 30-second rebuttals by the candidates upon request, and the moderator will alert the candidates to those questions before asking them. There was a pre-debate coin toss, and that determined who will go first. And Ms. Comey won that, so we will retain that and begin a rotation after that. So let's start with the opening statements. And Ms. Comey, you are first.
Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you to the League for having us here today. Quickly, I'm a small business owner. I am a nonprofit leader, and I began my policy career as an advocate for my kids to our local Board of Education. And we fought for 3 years to pass a policy that was safe and inclusive, education policy for my child and other kids with food allergies. And after that, some folks from across the state reached out, and we decided that piecemealing districts with local policies was not effective. So I worked with legislators in Hartford through the process, and we did passed a comprehensive statewide food allergy policy for Connecticut. Even before I was a state representative and a state representative, I've brought in about hundreds of thousands of dollars for this community. And I've been trusted with leadership positions in both the nonprofit area, local RTM, and various boards and education committees around the town.
Thank you. Mr. Ingraham?
No, thank you. Thank you to the League for having this. Ray Ingraham, I moved to Branford in 1986 with my wife, Mary Jane, whose parents, our whole family lived here since the late 1800s. My wife, 42 years, I have 3 daughters that went through the Branford school system, and I have 5 grandkids now in the Branford school system. U.S. Air Force vet, for 8 years I was in the Air Force before coming to Branford. And when I came to Branford, I got very dedicated to working in young women's sports, and ran the softball leagues, started the middle school field hockey program, coached basketball. So really learned those sports. I never played sports, so it was kind of an interesting time to go through. In the last 12 years, I've been on the RTM, working on a myriad of committees, and been the majority leader for the last 10 years. With that, we've brought many projects to Branford. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another question for you to sort of share with us some of your thoughts. So please list the main issues you plan to focus on to benefit your district's residents. Mr. Ingraham, would you start?
Sure. The main interests I have are with public safety, working with our police, making sure that we take care of good cops, and we make sure that anything that's bad, that we take care of that issue also. Another item is local control of our planning and zoning and running our town entities. That local control is very important to me. Home rule is very important. And then parental control, parental notification on health care and education items.
Okay. Ms. Comey?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So please list some of the main issues you plan to focus on to benefit your district's residents.
Sure. Well, one of my main things that I do is I champion education and early childhood education, but also the public health and safety and wellness of our families and the folks that live here. So I think one of the things that I want to get back up to Hartford and work on is, I think the most important thing we can do as legislators is to help families succeed and to lift them out of poverty or situations where they might not be able to succeed as well as they can. So I think one of the ways that we'll be able to do that is to make permanent our child tax credit. As I said, with the early childhood stuff, that's really what I love to work on. And I also sit on the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. And so we've been trying to make healthcare more affordable for the residents of our state. I've had a couple of bills over the past several years that have passed, and I want to continue to work those bills across the finish line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're now with questions where you are allowed 30-second rebuttals. And the first question is, what is your view of the affordable housing issue? Ms. Comey, you get to start.
Sure. Sorry about that. Just bear with me for a sec. So, we've been doing a lot about affordable housing in the state, and I am someone who actually sat on my neighborhood zoning board, and so I know firsthand the desire to maintain our charter and our zoning regulations. In a Connecticut statute that we just passed, all of our towns are required to have an affordable housing plan in place, and this was not an unfunded mandate. We actually granted Branford funding to develop this housing plan. I've read it. I think it's very strong. I think it's an honest assessment of what our current housing stock is and where our opportunity lies. So I think Branford has hundreds of units which meet the state definition of affordable housing. But we do have thousands of units that are naturally affordable, and so we would like to, continue to revisit that and make sure that that our residents have places to live that they can afford.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingraham?
Sure, thank you. I think it's very important that we have, again, local control, as I mentioned earlier, of our planning and zoning, as it goes to, especially affordable housing. We know best where we can put affordable housing and how it needs to fit our neighborhoods. We have, here in Branford, we do have mobile home parks that don't count toward the state numbers. We have many, they call them mother-in-law apartments, in-law apartments, that don't fit it also unless they are deeded that way. And the same thing with apartments. So we need to work at the state level to make sure that we have a pinpoint brush going to the 169 towns, or at least maybe not pinpoint, maybe a medium-sized brush, but not a broad brush that comes and just says that you fit this or you fit that, coming across a blanket. Branford does have areas that could really much use affordable housing, and it's right there on our Route 1.
Okay. Would you like to add anything on housing?
Yeah, I think that, our affordable housing plan, along with the plan of conservation development, which is a plan developed by Branford and also required by state statutes, is intended to guide the future of development in this town. So we want to support residents that want to age in place in their existing housing. And for me, this sounds like a lot of local control and local authority over our housing. So I continue to support that as well.
Mr. Ingraham, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I would. Thank you. On the local control item, we would like, or I would like to see that stays. We retain that it doesn't get whittled away with state laws. And that's what I'm going to bring to Hartford if I make it there, is that direction, that we will not vote for something that whittles away, that takes away from Branford's power over running our town.
Okay. Anything else on housing? No? Okay. Next question. How would you address the need to improve Connecticut's roads and bridges? Mr. Ingraham, you get to start.
All right. Connecticut's roads and bridges. The best way is to me is to we have to pay for use. We know that the gas tax or the diesel tax, fossil fuel taxes are going to run out. With more and more pushes to have electric energy and electric vehicles, those vehicles won't be paying for our taxes. They won't be paying for those taxes to have the road. So those will run out, even if we end up with a surplus, or we do need to figure out a way that we can charge everyone for how they use it, but try to be as fair as possible.
Okay. Ms. Comey?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. How would you address the need to improve Connecticut's roads and bridges?
Well, some of what I see is we've got this great, we have, before we got into office, 2 years ago, I should say, even 4 years ago, our special transportation fund was not solvent at all. It was pretty much empty. And over the past 2 years, we've been able to fill up that fund. It's been really successful. We want to keep that fund solvent. We have taken off the gas tax at 25 cents a gallon through December, and that is costing our state about $1 million a day. So we need to make sure that we are funding our special transportation fund, and that is how we're going to fix our roads and bridges.
Any more on transportation, Mr. Ingham?
No, thank you.
Ms. Comey?
No, thank you.
Okay. Third question. How do you view the roles of the state and the private sector to help improve the state's economy? Ms. Comey, you're first.
Sure. Well, small businesses have struggled a bit, certainly through COVID, and a bit is really an understatement. So I don't mean to minimize that at all. We need to understand I'm a small business owner myself, and we need to understand what the barriers are and why folks are not, getting back to the workforce. There's barriers like transportation, there's affordable housing, and affordable childcare. So we've been looking at, with the governor's support, how to support small businesses with the unemployment insurance issues that happened because of the pandemic, and really looking at affordable health care. Last year, I sit on the insurance committee, and last year we worked with the Human Services Committee, and we have covered Connecticut, which is a no-cost premium health care on the exchange. And hopefully that's going to take that off the plate of some of the small businesses, and they can focus on building their infrastructure in their brick and mortar businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ingraham?
Thank you. I really think that the best way that the state can help out our small businesses is to pretty much get out of the way. We have a myriad of fees and processes and that make it very hard for them to get started up. That's what I hear when I'm out talking to them, is that there's always another hurdle, and I'm talking even all the way down to the local levels, state to even town levels. That it's difficult to go through. They need to have. It seems like they need to have a myriad of lawyers helping them out to get through each of the processes, so that there's there. And then with the state can help with the insurance, help with building partnerships with insurance companies and building laws or insurance policies that a small business can purchase for their employees without these onerous. I guess it would be more of an insurance company, being able to do the old style catastrophic type of insurance to start off with.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I will agree with Ray in the sense that there are a fair amount of regulations on our businesses. We did take away in 2017, I believe, the business entity tax. But there's regulations for a reason. And, we live in a society where we get greater good, we do things for the greater good for people. And just one example of a law that I worked on quickly, it was really the licensing of nail technicians and eyelash technicians. And we were looking out for people in regards to their health and safety issue. But another part of it that people haven't thought about is the wage theft that happens, the human trafficking that happens in that industry. And so you really have to balance those things.
Okay. Mr. Ingraham, do you have anything you would like to add?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Our next question. What do you think you could do to make Connecticut more affordable for more people? Mr. Ingraham, you're first.
I think the state can make it more affordable is that, applying, anything that we have extra to our pension funds, our debt that we owe right now, paying down the debt, much like what we've done here in Branford. We've paid down our debt to make sure that we can afford the niceties and the nice buildings that we've been putting up. And the state needs to do that same thing. We need to pay down that debt. That will make things easier, the path better as we move through the future years. Thank you. That's
okay. Ms. Comey?
Sure. I really wasn't going to go in that direction, but I do want to talk about what we have done for the budget. It is true, we have a balanced budget, and because we have put in place some fiscal safeguards back in 2018, things like the volatility cap, and that means that we save money when the market's doing well, so we don't have to cut the services. We've also paid down $6 billion of pension debt that Ray was speaking about. We are going to save $440 million each year, equaling $11 billion over the next 25 years. So, we've got to improve bond rating and $3.3 million in our rainy day fund. So I think that, we're poised as a state to continue in a strong fiscal footing. And if a recession happens, we are poised to weather that as well. So we've become really fiscally responsible under the current leadership and have not seen the dramatic deficits that we saw for decades before us.
Okay. Mr. Ingraham, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes, in the budget that came out in 2017 that caused many of the improvements came out during a time when the legislature was very even, evenly divided between parties. And I find that even locally that the more even things are, the more people talk, the more they argue things out, and you get the best out of it. I would also argue that most the administrations or the legislature before this one were Democrat-led. It wasn't one party. More than one party was running more during those years. The actual dollars and cents.
Okay. Did you want to add anything?
I would just say that we've got we were focusing on keeping seniors and families in our town. We passed a law that allows towns to freeze property taxes on homes owned by folks 70 years or older who are on limited incomes. We've allocated $330 million of housing and energy assistance. And I think we're really listening to the residents and trying to help them.
Okay. Any more on this topic? Okay. How can state government support more diversity in our workforce, especially in our classrooms? And Ms. Comey, you're first.
Sure. Well, I do sit on the education committee, and we actually have been, really working closely on that issue to attract our diverse group of teachers. There's been some news lately that we're working with an exchange program with Puerto Rico to bring in teachers to work in schools in our districts, and that's been going really well. And just making community college affordable and actually free for students in this state so that more folks of color have opportunity and want to go into teaching, because that's really a place where we're going to see significant need in the future. And I'm looking forward to continuing that work on my education committee, making that happen.
Okay, Mr. Ingraham?
Yes, it's very, very important, very tough job teaching. Happen to have a daughter that's a teacher, so and she was attracted to it through her IT career. Decided it was a better. To make it more diverse, the programs at the community colleges are great. That's exactly what we need to be doing. I'm raised in New Haven. Through many neighborhoods throughout New Haven, and my teaching, the classrooms that I had were much more diverse. Lee High School and Sheridan Middle School and Troop, and so we had that feel, and it was much better. A class at Lee that you had to take was World Cultures, day one, first class. One of the class, you always talk about world cultures because I think I learned more about the world and how different cultures lived by that just one class, one semester. Parts of pay gaps, paying our paras better would lead them into teaching. I think that's where we need to head.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
No, I just wanted to let you know that we also put $20 million more into the Roberta Willis scholarships for our students, which is a need-based scholarship. So we're continuing to make sure that folks have opportunity.
Anything else, Mr. Ingraham? Okay. A new free program, Waterford Upstart, has 200 slots for children entering kindergarten in 2023. Do you think the state should support free pre-K education for all children? Mr. Ingraham, you're first on this one.
This is one I didn't prepare so much for. But free pre-K, I've seen great results with it. I happen to have some that are out of there, so I give you your minute. It's your wheelhouse. So I would support programs that would help cities and towns incrementally bring it up. We've done that in Branford, and it's worked out very well. You can have the rest of my time.
Ms. Comey?
Just the question is...
it's about free pre-K education for all students.
Yeah, well, I mean, Branford's been doing great right? We have free 4-year-old half-day pre-K. What's missing is that other half of the day here in Branford. I would like to see that changed. That doesn't help necessarily families be able to go to work all day and have their kids in a safe place and taken care of, because childcare is really an economic issue, and we've seen during the pandemic the disruption that not having childcare did on the economy. So, right now you have a lot of women who are not in the workforce, and for full economic recovery, we're going to need women to be working as well. And accessing quality and affordable care is part of that solution. And I am fully working on that as we breathe about it. And I think removing barriers, and which includes the high cost of early care is how we're going to do that.
Okay. Mr. Ingraham, you have anything you would like to add?
No, thank you.
Ms. Comey?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, next question. Do you agree with Connecticut's current laws that allow for safe-sex marriage and a woman's right to choose? Would you adapt the laws regulating either of these rights, or would you support allowing them to stand as currently written? And Ms. Comey, you're first.
I'm sorry, that was a little bit long. Would you please reread that?
Sure. Do you agree with Connecticut's current laws that allow for same-sex marriage and a woman's right to choose? Would you adapt the laws regulating either of these rights, or would you support allowing them to stand as currently written?
I support them as they're currently written. Over the years, we are seeing for the past 4 years that I've been in Hartford, we see lawmakers propose laws that want to decrease access to safe abortion care and reproductive health care in this state. And that really is a way to chip away at our current laws. Last year, in fact, I've supported expanding our laws to protect women and their providers, and working with my colleagues and the AG's office, that if you come to our state for any reason, that you understand our laws and that you know your rights and that you are protected.
Okay, Mr. Ingraham?
Okay, I'll start with the same-sex marriage. Absolutely, I have no issues. I'm a justice of the peace. Have done many of those ceremonies. The right to choose, I am fine with the current laws. I would not change the laws. I firmly believe I have 3 daughters, 4 sisters, probably 400 aunts. But they've all impugned on me, and I've coached hundreds and hundreds of girls. That I've learned over the years that it's not my place. It's not man's place. Man may have a place in helping making some of the decisions, but the ultimate decision is that woman and her doctors.
Okay. Would you like to add anything else to this?
No, not
Mr.
at all.
Ingraham?
Thank you.
Nope.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay. So, what approaches would you pursue to make health coverage more affordable in Connecticut? Mr. Ingraham, you're first.
Health plans more affordable. The one I touched on earlier was that that there needs to be an overall plan that allows levels of tiered service that businesses can buy. Like I said, the older days, I'll call it, when I was catastrophic care. The policies that took care of breaking legs, emergency rooms, and that, and then parents would pay for the doctor's visits and that, and then moving up as you move through companies being able to make more money, have larger workforces, that the companies contribute more. I've been lucky for 90% of my career where I didn't have to pay for everything, but for the last 3 years I did pay for everything. So it was about $30,000 a year once I got paying my deductibles, and it was a serious drain. So it's very important to work on those issues and get them some level playing fields, and that may take some federal laws to get it done.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Comey?
Sure. Healthcare. I work a lot on healthcare. I am the past 2 years, I guess, I'm vice chair of insurance committee. It certainly is an interesting topic. It's very multifaceted. There are tons of interests. We have everything from insurance companies to pharmaceuticals to PBMs, which are the middlemen, hospitals, and of course providers. And, the field, even in the 2 years that I've been on the insurance industry, has been changing so fast. So, we're trying to keep up with it. We're trying to find solutions that are amenable to all. I worked on an epinephrine bill this past year or 2 years ago, and I brought all the players together, which was like the pharmaceuticals, the insurance companies, and the PBMs, and I brought them all together, and they told me that it was the first time that they had ever sat in a room together to try to solve a solution, try to solve a problem, to find a solution together. So we need more of that, and happy to do that.
Anything further on this topic? Okay. Next one. The Public Health Committee passed an aid in dying bill in 2022. Will you support a similar bill if it reaches the House floor this term? Ms. Comey?
Yeah, that's a hard one for me. I gotta admit, I sat on the Public Health Committee for the first 2 years of my in the legislature, and we heard that bill 2 years in a row. And it's really tremendously heartbreaking. And for me, I was torn, and I still don't know how I would vote on it. I mean, that was 2 years ago. A lot has changed, and I'll have to wait and see where we are on that bill and decide at the time.
Okay. Mr. Ingraham?
I do remember much debate about that around. I have breakfast every couple of weeks, and yeah, a few of the people that I work with on the RTM talking about that, and very dear to them that it's important to have that access. And there are people that I was going back and forth on it, saying, no, it shouldn't, we shouldn't allow that. But they've convinced me that, if it came to the floor, that I would be heavily leaning to vote yes to allow that to happen.
Okay. Any further on this topic? No? Okay.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
What strategies would you support to mitigate climate change and improve our resilience to its impact? And Mr. Ingraham,
I get to go first.
You're first on this.
All right, climate change and coastal resilience.
And resilience.
And resilience.
Improve the impact on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here in Branford, we've put together a coastal resiliency fund. I think it's the first one in the state, and with the aid of the state legislature, made it able to be invested in a better way to make more money on putting the money away. I think we live in a coastal town. We have coastal state. We have to plan that sea level's changing, and that so we need to make sure that people that are living on the shoreline prepare for it, help them prepare for it with our roads and bridges, et cetera. Passing in Branford, we keep up with how high the house has to be to meet FEMA plans and all. And I firmly believe that people living on the shore need to take care of that themselves in many cases. That it shouldn't be a burden on our insurance system that their house blew away, or our ancestors figured out that they didn't want to build there for a reason.
Thank you. Ms. Comey?
Yeah, I think after Florida, we're all going to be in trouble here on the shoreline. But I think what the state can do to address climate change and promote sustainability in our environment is, Connecticut is one of those states, as Ray says, that we take environmental stewardship very seriously. We had some bills that address climate change, certainly every year, and in 2022 was no different. We passed the Connecticut Clean Air Act and expanding access to electric vehicles incentives. Incentives are great. We set some ambitious goals for zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2040. And we're looking at wind power. Just had a great meeting with a wind power company. Incentives for lifting caps on solar. And we really have to pivot to renewable energy in this state. And we're doing that, and we're keeping our house in order so that we can do that.
Okay. Mr. Ingraham, you have anything more to add on this?
I firmly believe that we as we move to help move to electric, more electric vehicles and that, I firmly believe that we should be doing it more incrementally, more working with hybrids. I don't think that our electric grid would be able to take a sudden shock of us all. That was terrible. Of us all plugging in and having vehicles. My family's got a few of them, and they've enjoyed them. So.
Okay. Ms. Comey, anything else?
I would like an electric vehicle. No, I don't have anything more.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If the early voting referenda passes, what measures would you support to establish the new process? Ms. Comey, you are first.
Sure. Well, I certainly hope that the measure passes. I wish we had done a little bit more voter education on the issue. I support amending the Constitution to provide for early no excuse absentee ballots. I think that after that happens, assuming it happens, we are going to did I say no excuse absentee? I did. I meant early voting. So I think that the legislature is going to get together and they're going to decide, if it's going to be a few days, if it's going to be a week. I talked to a senior yesterday, and she has good days and she has bad days, and we were talking about the referendum on the ballot today. So increasing participation is always worthwhile, and education and civics education is part of that.
Thank you. Mr. Ingraham?
Thank you. You were using my line with the absentee voting.
Like, what did you say?
I firmly believe it's passing. So I firmly believe that the ballot initiative will pass and come to fruition. We in the legislature will have to decide on how to enact it. I'm very much for expanding no excuse absentee ballots the way we work them now, where there's a process of checking. The person fills out an application, they get their absentee ballot sent to them, they fill it out, sign it, send it back, and then we count them on Election Day. Expanding of some of that during 2020 may have to happen, where they can set them up so that they can be counted efficiently on Election Day. I can understand that. Listening to the debate the other night, it seemed that both candidates were pretty much falling on, if they did early voting, it would be about 3 days. It'd be an impact to towns, but I think we should make sure that the impact is as small as it could be.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we really, part of the work that the committee and the legislature will have to do is to decide if we can, and I hope we can, support our towns more, our registrar of voters, our town clerks, those that are going to need a little bit more resources to make, to pull this off. You're going to need more staff. And I think, for instance, our registrar of voters is already working so hard, and that we need to make sure that they have the resources here in our communities.
Anything else, Mr. Ingraham?
Yes, I agree there. And we near and dear to my heart. Last week, I think it was our RTM vote to increase our registrars' salaries a bit, with some notion that we knew that some things would be coming up in the next year or two that would expand it more. We'll have deep discussions here in town with, how do we expand? Do we expand more people? Do we expand the jobs themselves? But there's much work to do, and we will need to be giving proper guidance from the state level.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, sort of keeping with the theme of voting, do you support no excuse absentee voting? Why or why not? And this question is the beginning of what we're calling our lightning round, so no rebuttals. So just speak about your support and why or why you are not supporting it.
Okay, so yes, I do. Oh, is it my turn or his
Sure,
turn?
go ahead.
I think it's Ray's turn.
It actually is Ray's turn. So.
Okay, I'll do what yes, and I would support it. And as I had said earlier, it will open up an avenue that the people can access. We all learned in 2020, that many people needed it then. This year, both parties, were giving notifications, texts, letting everyone know. The Secretary of State's office did open up a nice online, a little bit later than what we probably would have wanted, but it got it there and got it running. I know they had some hiccups, but having that and again a good secure process is all I ask for, and what I'm hearing from constituents. They want it. They want to know that their vote was cast, it was counted, and nothing else has happened.
All right. Ms. Guido?
Yes. Yes, I support no excuse absentee ballots. And in fact, over the past several weeks, since folks have gotten their absentee ballots in the mail, I've received several phone calls because my phone number was on many of the letters that went out with it. And I received phone calls from folks who needed a little guidance on, what it was that, which box they should check, whether it was sickness, whether it was they're going to be out of town, whether it was a disability. And so I think the clearer that we can make voting, it's going to produce better results. And one of the ways that we could do it is to have a no excuse absentee, and then won't have to receive phone calls from folks who might be a little unsure about which box to check.
Okay. Next question. How do you define democracy in this age of severe partisanship? Ms. Comey, you're first.
Well, democracy is certainly has been tested, I think, to its limits these days. And I see democracy as a place where everyone feels that they have a voice and that they can make a difference, and that they will not be condemned for having a different view or a different point of view than their neighbor, and that everyone is accepting of different viewpoints without resorting to violence or trying to overturn elections or lie to people. And I think that democracy is very much at risk, and I trust that we can make it through this difficult time.
Mr. Ingraham?
Yes, I guess it was Ronald Reagan that said, democracy is only one generation from being lost. The discourse over the last 6 years has not been great. It's been terrible. When I started 12 years ago with party politics, I was unaffiliated before that. It was a big ticket splitter. So I really looked at candidates, and you shouldn't, no one, as Robin had said, no one should feel that if they have an idea, they have somebody's lawn sign on it, they just have a different view that that the other person is so much different or evil. Probably evil's the best word to use there. It's not evil. It's a discussion. Democracy is a discussion. The discussion is ended by our election. Our elections, the answers, that's our American way. Our elections tell us who's going to be next, and we allow those people to run the country or state for that many years.
Okay, thank you. Next question, along sort of similar lines. How can the state legislature reduce the partisan fervor we hear from its leaders? And Mr. Ingraham, you're first.
I guess my argument would be let's even up the playing field in Hartford, and that would force it. And really, people need, as they vote, need to be sure they're going to pick people that will not be divisive, will not use, parsing words that, no, they really meant this, and put out an ad that says that this is what they really meant. That's what has to go away. And, in Hartford, it would just be the leaders need to lead by example, and the voters need to, they have a chance every 2 years in the legislature to change things. If someone's not working that way, change it. Or even within your own party, don't pick that person to run again. Pick somebody else in the party that's going to do it the way that you think is right. And, and I do feel that most of Connecticut is extremely moderate.
Okay.
Would you just mind asking the question again, please?
Sure. How can the state legislature reduce the partisan fervor we hear from its leaders?
Well, I assume, I'm not sure, which leaders you're referring to. So I don't know if you're talking about the state leaders or the federal leaders, but I guess I'll touch a little bit on both. My experience in Hartford is that we work very well together. We have our healthy debates, and we take those debates out on the floor where they belong. I certainly don't like to hear that people are upset with the media, the ads that say, the two folks running for governor, going negative. I think negative is not helpful. It doesn't get your message across. But it also is important that we, as Ray said, set an example and work together for the best of Connecticut.
Thank you. Please describe a time when you worked with someone who had an opposing point of view. And Ms. Comey, you get to start.
Oh, well, I guess I'm trying to think. I have opposing points of view with folks on the insurance committee from time to time because we have, some folks who support, healthcare, like a healthcare, single payer healthcare system, and then we have some folks who want a public option, and then we have folks that want things to stay the same. So, when we bring all of us together, we try to find a solution. We're respectful with each other, and sometimes we can go down a little bit of a rabbit hole with policy and things like that. But I think that on the insurance committee we have disagreed, but we respectfully disagreed with one another.
Okay, Mr. Ingraham.
Sure, it's interesting that most of my debates happen to come within my own caucus on the RTM. Usually on money matters and, the definition of being fiscally conservative, and working through those items, every year with the budget, every project, we back and forth, couldn't we cut 10%? Couldn't we do this? Couldn't we do that? And really, working through the discussion helps you work through the problem. It's going back and forth. It's using colorful language, closed doors, of course, and it's letting everyone say exactly how they feel, the way they have to say it, to make sure the meeting it happens. Usually my stance is that being fiscally conservative isn't the absence of spending money; it's spending money properly. So and that's been my stance, and it generally prevails, but sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next question. Will you accept the outcome of the November 8th election as certified by our Secretary of the State?
You say it together?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraham?
Yes.
Okay. That was a quick one. So here's the last one of the lightning round. What issue would you like to address that we haven't covered yet? And Ms. Comey, you will be first with this.
Sure. I would like to address I was really proud. I would just like to share that I was really proud of the historic. I sat on the Children's Committee, and we passed a historic mental health bill this year. It's doing. The plan is really strong. We have We have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals, and these investments are going to help our children, which is our most important investments that we can make in the future of our state. And it was really tough throughout the pandemic. It was tough before the pandemic for kids, but throughout the pandemic, it really exacerbated some long-standing problems. So I think of the 4 years that I've been serving as your state representative, that children's mental health bill was one of the proudest bills that I was able to be a part of. And, it was on a bipartisan fashion. So those things are really special as well.
Thank you. Mr. Ingraham?
Okay, my subject is protecting our police. Our police have, the citizens' respect of the police force has been eroded. It has a lot to do with, public public commenting, police feeling that they don't have, their backs aren't being held, up by the legislature, by local municipalities also. They need their qualified immunity put back in place. The laws that were passed over the last couple of years, went part of the way to take care of bad police, but I think there's more too blanketed that has hurt the good cops that are out there. They need to know if they arrest somebody properly, that person's not going to be on the streets for a while. That they're going to go, they're going to go away. Thank you.
Thank you. We've now come to this section for the closing statements. Thank you for answering those questions. Ms. Comey, you are first.
We have 1 minute.
1 minute.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you to the League for hosting us tonight, and your commitment to educating voters on democracy and your advocacy for engaging voters at all levels. For the residents of the 102nd District, it's been really an honor to be your state rep for the past 4 years. I've been given an incredible opportunity to be a leader during unprecedented times. And I think as I reflect back on my past 4 years, I'm most grateful for the relationships that I've made with so many of you out there, working with you personally through so many, some of our difficulties that we've faced has been really the most rewarding, and we've been able to make real progress. And I've proven to be a responsive problem solver who leads with a thoughtful mind and an open heart. And as your public service servant, I am here to represent you and your loved ones. And I hope that you will continue to consider me your partner in state government and know that my door is always open. So I'm honored to be your state representative currently, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Ingraham?
Thank you. I've been dedicated to Branford since it adopted me in 1986. Great town, open arms, let me do whatever I felt like doing. I've been dedicated on the RTM for the last 12 years, so I have legislative experience and balancing different views. I've done that I'd say in a nonpartisan manner. I've accepted no endorsements purposefully. Haven't sought any and haven't accepted any because I feel that the only influencers I should have are my constituents here in Branford. So I do that on the RTM. I do many surveys and reach outs, and I'd like to continue that at the next level in Hartford, and bring my Branford first mentality to Hartford, and hopefully make some changes that we've done here in town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the candidates for a very lively and informative debate. And the League of Women Voters offers candidate and election information on our online voters service, which is vote411.org. And we remind everyone that you will be voting on this early voting referenda, which the question will be, shall the Constitution of the state be amended to permit the General Assembly to provide for early voting? We hope that you will look for it. It could be in a corner or on the back, depending on everybody's ballot. So we thank the Branford Community Television for recording this debate and their helpful team who have worked here. We thank the League of Women Voters of East Shore Voter Service Team, Dan Arman and Elise Lowe, who both organized this debate and all the debates that we're doing this year. And it's now your turn as voters to speak out and vote. We hope you will be there for democracy. The polls will be open between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please go vote. Thank you.